Okay, so back to like the broken arrow incidents.
Yeah.
So what's crazy about it is that it was like from 1950 to like the 80s, I believe, that incidents happened. Where there were armed military planes that had an accident. Somehow they crashed. And like I said, we're lucky that there were no other nuclear explosions. I don't know how, after 32 incidents, and it ranges. It ranges,
Yes. None of them went critical.
right.
Some of them exploded, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we were talking in the beginning, there's a conventional, like explosive in there.
Yeah.
And then there's the material, the nuclear material.
Yeah.
None of the nuclear material went off, but some of it got thrown around.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just insane. Because you would think that something like that maybe would have been thought about, or maybe some foresight into accidents like that, or maybe even after maybe the 5th or 10th one, maybe something would have changed. Because these accidents range from like, planes colliding into each other, or crashing into a mountain, or even, something happening with the plane itself, like catching on fire, or some type of malfunction, that causes the plane to crash, or,
Right.
and sometimes, the whole crew is lost.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we're lucky none of the weapons went critical, because then a lot of people would have been lost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, way more than, and it's just almost like a miracle that nothing like that has happened, because, that's just, I don't know, 1 in a million odds that all those crashes and nothing went critical. So there was one that actually happened in the U.S. In like North Carolina, where there was 2 bombs on the plane, and one of them, I think it was all the stages of the bomb, except one.
Yeah, we were talking about this. So 2 bombs fell, and one of these devices can't just go off. There's safety. Well, there's steps built into it,
Right.
to try to stop a full explosion, and they basically have to go through one step to the next step to the next step. They're all sequential, and it got to the point where it deployed its parachute, and so it was one step away from going.
Yeah.
And it basically landed. There's a picture of it. I'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
But there is. It landed next to a tree.
Yep. Yeah. I think the parachute got caught in the branches.
Yeah, and it was just sitting there next to a tree, and this thing is huge.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 feet wide, and it doesn't say it here, but I wanted to say it was like, was it like 15 feet long or something? But the messed up part is what happened to the other bomb. It did not go through any of its stages, so it never deployed its parachute.
Yeah.
And they estimate that it was moving about 700 miles per hour when it hit the ground.
Yeah.
And sort of like I was talking about before with a thermonuclear device, there's basically the conventional explosives, then there is the fission device, and then there's the fusion device. And they call that, like, I think it's called the core and the pit. And the core, most of the core was found. I think they worked for like 8 days trying to find it, but the pit wasn't found. So they removed most of the thing that hit the ground. But since the pit wasn't found, they actually the federal government had to purchase that part of land.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And then they put a fence around it, and they were basically like, you can't go here.
Yeah.
It's not that big a piece of land, but
Yeah. because the area is radioactive or what?
Yeah, and if let's say somebody didn't know what was down there and decided to dig it up or drill a well or do something.
Yeah.
Either way, the government has said not right here.
Yeah. Okay. So I know you said that there's stages to it, so it can't just go off. But in an instance where where this, the bomb's like down in the ground, is there anything stopping it from like going off, or it still has to go through stages, or it can't just like be triggered and go off?
Well, it's been ripped apart, so only the pit is missing. So that is how do I call this? Refined material. But it on its own can't just explode or anything like that. It like I was saying before, like it requires a very precise primary explosion to cause the secondary part of the explosion.
Yeah.
Even when they were doing this during the Manhattan Project out in the desert, they were unsure if they were going to be able to achieve a perfect enough explosion to create this domino effect.
Yeah.
But the radiation is still very deadly.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.